So, thank you guys for coming here today to listen to me, and I will try to do my best to make this work for you, and let's start. So, today I will talk about how sharpening ideas. I will talk some things more tangible, others not so much, but I'd like to start introducing myself. So, I'm Lucas, I'm design manager here in Avenue Code. I'm working, would be 3 years in the next month. So I started here 3 years ago. I have a lot of different projects. I knew a lot of people, different people, would be awesome. And I have opportunity here to work as a manager with a great team, an amazing team. I'm really proud to work on. And thinking a little bit about me and my experience, I'm also a design professor. So I'm from Belo Horizonte. So in Belo Horizonte, I'm a professor in the company called Anima. So I teach for the UNA and Uni BH, and I have a great experience there to talk with different people, understand their challenges, and some of them, I started to understand a lot of people, in fact, are very creative, even in different areas. As a nurse, a lawyer, they are creative. They have this creative to use, but they don't know exactly how to use. So I started to create a content to support them and help them. And talk a little bit about me. I'm also a huge fan of animes, movies, doramas, Formula One, etc. A lot of different things. I really love to consume different things and watch different things. And I really enjoy to watch old movies, new movies at all, romance movies. I don't care. So I watch everything, and I really like. And because of this, for like of movies and cinema, some of my references to be creative can come from there. So you will see a lot of different and similar things here with cinema. And yeah, so I would like to start with the little me. So this is how they call me at time, Luquinhas. So this is Luquinhas, and if you notice, I'm using F1 cloth, and because I'm really fan. And if you notice, I'm using Marlboro brand in my clothes. So I'm a kid using a cigar brand in my clothes. And you could kind of strange, but not strange because it's a 90S. So 90S has a lot of questionable things, but also has a good things too there. So Luquinhas has a kid, love toys, has any kid, and always trying to find a way to buy my toys, and I need these toys. I love Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, etc. And Spider-Man, and they launched something called Pokemon, and they have more than 100 toys at the time. So Luquinhas is very worried about how I can buy all of these toys. It's more than 100. I don't, well, how I can do this? We don't have money. And my reality is very common for a lot of Brazilian kids at the time. So we don't have much money to buy all these toys, and we have to be creative. So how me, the little Luquinhas here, want to be part of this magical world, as in Pokemon, Power Ranger, Teletubbies, etc. How I can be part of this world? I try to find the solutions to be there, and I could not find nothing at time. So I got really frustrated because I want to buy these things, I want to join, but I could not find another way. I also try to record my favorite shows. I go to the video store, but what is not enough for me? So I try to art, but not work for me at all. I don't know, 8 years old, and I'm not satisfied with my drawings, and I start to be more frustrated, and it was the worst. So I find something called massa de modelar. So it's a clay, and it was really magic for me. I remember I have eight years old. I was walking the street, and I see a old store with a lot of bugigangas and different things, a lot of junk. And I take this clay, and I start, no, I don't eat massinha, Marina. I like the smell, but not eat. And I started to take these clays and start to work with them to create my characters, because with massinha and this clay, I could create some characters, and if I don't want these characters anymore, I can put everything off and create another one with the same clay. So this is really magical for me, and I start to create my own Pokemons. The first one is not so cute, but I start to create the 100 Pokemon. This is the way I find to create all of them. And this is me with 10 years old and with my brother. And here you can see all my clays on the table, and I create a lot of things, a lot of characters. And this has helped me a lot, because when I creating all these toys with clay, I will start to create what kind of stories I can tell to them, and how kind of stories I can tell and create with these characters. So this is a huge thing on my childhood, and support me a lot to be, I don't know if I'm creative, but I like to study this area. So yeah, this is a little bit about me, and this is why I have all this background today. So I talk a little bit about me, and today to explain the creative is a journey. So it's a long-term thing, not necessarily a short, or maybe could be even a medium, but it's a journey, and we have to take this in your life, understand your background, what you like to do, what you already did, and your best experiences. So let's go. And I start to think about creative. We have to go back more and remember, among the beings that inhabit the earth, we are physically weak and not so the fastest. So we don't have the skills that allow us to fly, swim, or shoot lasers with our eyes. But yet, maybe in the future. But we are the top of the food chain. And we are the top of the food chain because our capacity to design things. And when I say designing here, when I say design, I'm talking about planning, develop something. So the designing word is really related to develop and design. So we have this incredible adaptability, transforming reality with our intelligence to create these tools. So this is the first tool the humanity created 2.6 billion years ago, and they start to shape the reality, and maybe here we find something creative, start to bring it on the table. So I'm telling this because in our DNA, we are natural designers. So and that's why probably you have any kind of empathy with the area, and maybe this is why you are here, because you consider yourself creative, and we as a kids, we have a lot of creativity to use, but we are growing and we start to lose this creativity. And when we talk about creativity and we talk in design to develop things, we need to talk about technology and accessibility, because the technology will say to us if our idea could be feasible or not, or maybe can support us to be this idea be more feasible. So when we have good idea, some emerging technology, and any kind of intention you have, not so tangible, but we'll explain more later. And with these three connected, you could have a future vision, and you can understand what you want to accomplish. So when we start to create something and I have an idea, maybe for a project, maybe for a client, maybe for a new product, or for your personal life, first thing we have to analyze the context. So we need to understand the context and the transformation of the time. They call it in German, Zeitgeist. So let's imagine you watching Snow White. And if you watch Snow White today, maybe you cannot, like it because they have some problems, and you want to compare Snow White with Frozen. for example. These two different animations, but from different ages. And when I want to analyze Snow White, I need to go back at the time Snow White were launched, because Snow White for at the time was really feminist, to show women doing what they want and singing, going to the park. So at the time, Snow White was a step beyond at the time. So we can make this comparison with Snow White and Frozen. That's okay, but we need to understand the product of this context and the products of that age and how they can advance or not. And of course, because of this, we need to understand the culture, because design generally emerged by reaffirming a culture based in values or beliefs that this culture have, or reacting something on that culture. Could be bad or good. And ideas is related with the human needs. So human problems. A good creativity comes out from patterns, behaviors, and people action behind these preconceptions. So we need to understand these preconceptions, understand why the human do what they do, to understand how we can understand the desire, why they do this, what they really desire they have. And the other thing we need to understand is intention. So when we have an idea, we have the great idea, the best idea we can, but we need to understand what kind of intention you want to bring in the table with this idea. So we need to find a purpose or a provocation for happen. And we cannot talk about ideas if we don't have resources, right? So this is why technology came here, because when we have an idea, something to develop, it is really related with type of resource available for us. So this is can understand, for me, was for Luquinhas, was I don't have money, but I have clay. So this is my resource I can use and works for me. And the technology, because it's the tool that facilitates these results, and it can be decisive when we have some context about it, because we have some cultures don't have too much access or areas in your company or in your client, and you need to understand what kind of technology they use to facilitate your idea. So, well, I'm talking too much, and I would like to say also what the creativities have in common. So they have something in common, and it's really, really important for us to understand this, because could help us to bring an idea to table and approve this idea. So the first thing we need to understand is have ability to translate your thoughts, because we have to engage people with our idea. We have to follow aspirations, create connections and intentions, because an idea alone is nothing for the other. If you have to engage in people, you need to connect this idea with this person. And of course, we need our eyes to understand the patterns, identify causes, effects, and correlate it with a problem maybe you are facing. But also, we have to take a heart in your idea when you are engaging people. So with this empathy and intuition, you have to believe in your idea, and the others will believe too. And of course, you need to build and learn with attempts. So use your hands to do your best, try and build your idea from the ground. And all of this, when you start to think about all of this social technology and intention, you will start to think about projection. So your future vision is not a future, but you start to see how to project your idea and how to make this idea come in the other and engage the others. So today, our ideas is linked to the ability to design and redesign. Not necessarily every idea needs to be have to be created for the ground. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. So I will show an example about this. So how this could be applied. So this man here, Hijitaka Kurita, this smiling man here, he creates something called emoji. So we use a lot these emojis, and this was the first emojis he created in 9S. And the creation for him was he was a developer working a company, and he has a lot of job to do, and he was trying to create some way to communicate with the team and not necessarily typing of the words. So he started to figure out how he can start to send a message, but not typing, but just using one typing. So he created this first emoji at the time, and was a huge success. And I believe the most success at all was one from Star Trek. I think was a hand doing this hand, and was a successful at the time, and works for him. Works at all when we start to use it today. And I have here an example how not reinvent the wheel, but how use the creations already created to create another one. So this is a case for Martini. So this is an action, a campaign for Martini. So you send to them 5 emojis about your summer, and they send to you back a playlist based in your emojis. So it's a kind of creative way to use the emojis and not reinvent the wheel again to create something from the ground. So it's really related to understand our past, understand what it was created, and how we can make something different. So understand how we use this power of design to design solutions. It's very important for us to understand the next step of the evolution in marketing and for the humanity. So looking for the new generations, what they consume now, and what they would like to consume in the future, and related with what you like to do in your childish, and you can find some great ideas from there. And well, when I mentioned I really like of movies, and all of these different movies here, we have romantic movies, hero movies, and post-apocalyptic movies. They all of them have something in common, because when you're trying to create a hero story, it's very hard to create something new, right? Because it's kind of cliche. You have a hero, you have all this story, and I could not mention the romantic movies. They are most cliche at all, right? And we love it. So why does this happen? Why we like it is the same thing, and what is the difference? So here, the big thing for all ideas, it's not the what you are watching, but it's how. So when you are falling in love with someone, everyone is falling in love with someone in your life. It's very common, happens. And when you're trying to create a movie or create animation, create something to present for the others, they already have this same experience to you. And how this, a lot of these screenwriters create something new every year, every month, using the same experience, love. Because the focus is not a what, it's not love, it's not falling apart with someone, but how I can be falling apart with someone, or how I can create a different hero, how I can end the earth around in a different way. So is the how, is the big word we can use to create something different. It's not the what, but how. And the how, the ideas from how came from interdisciplinarity. So try to do something different, try to watch different movies you don't like, try to talk with people you don't talk at all, try to go out of your bubble and try to talk with different people who like so different things to you and discuss with them, understand their opinions, understand what they like, and understand the real value of the things would be a great step to understand the world and support you to have a more sharp ideas when you present for someone. Um, and yeah, so the first thing when we start to 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 create these ideas and how we go for this interdisciplinarity and how we can do that. So the first thing is understand when you are working and we are doing something in your life, why do what I do? Try to ask yourself, are you the pilot? You understand why you're doing these things, or you're just an automatic and do things, done things, and not understanding? You don't have the conscience of the now. The second thing is, if you don't believe, it'd be more hard, right? It's really hard when you have to sell an idea and this idea is not yours. And you try to sell this idea, but you don't believe in this idea. So it'd be really, really hard to make people engage in this idea if you don't believe. And don't wait for inspiration. So this is something very common. We sometimes we wait, we have this, in our imagination, we think the great ideas and great solutions can come from eureka moments. They will just pop up in your head and not necessarily work in this way. So don't wait for the inspiration. You start to work in something today. You start to work in your idea, in your personal project, if you have one, and if you have something to present for the directors, for your stakeholders. So start to create small things every day, and don't wait for the big inspiration come. And this is a quote from Alice. If you don't know where you are, going any road can take you there. So the most important is start. If you don't know the right path, it's not a problem. Just take a path, understand, go back, choose another one, and but start today. And the only thing is this understanding is important because satisfaction is not a constancy in our minds. So everyone here in this room is is not satisfied with something. So maybe you have some challenges in your personal life, in your work. You don't like how things are working right now. You don't like the process. You don't like what you're doing right now. You don't like, we don't like a lot of stuff. So the most easy thing for us as human beings, it's find problems. So we need to be careful with this because we are created in our society and we always try to find problems, and we can find problems in everything. So we have to understand we will not be satisfied all the time. It's part of us as humans. And as we cannot be happy all the time, 100% of our time and of our day. So we work with moments here, right? So we have moments we are happy, with moments with different emotions, and the satisfaction is not one of them. Sadly, could be, right? Different. So let's imagine, okay, Lucas, you talk a lot to me about culture, about context, about technology, how I have to be have attention of my my environment, my personal satisfaction, and you do all of these things and you do a great job, and you start to, now I'm starting to figure it out. I have this project. I start to move things on here. I start to present this here. And you create something amazing, unbelievable, and just you could create, and was awesome. And yeah, you start, and wow, what has happened? When you do the first creation, it's normal. When you start to see your work don't go the way you want. So it come when you're producing something, it doesn't look like what you wanted. So you have this big idea in your head. You will save the world, you solve all these problems, but you start to design or you start to put things on the track. You're not satisfied at all with what you're creating. And you start to question yourself, why does this happen? Because I have this idea, and maybe I have a dream at night, and I wake up with this big idea, but it's not working, and I don't understand why this idea is not working. So I would like to say, you are not alone on this. So this is happening with everyone, and when we have with great ideas, and we start to design something, develop something, and we start to don't like what we created after we created. So this guy here, Ira Tesla, he said, it's because you have a good taste. And I will read his quote here. He said, your taste is the killer. So your taste is good enough. You can tell what you're making a kind of disappointing to you. So you try to understand this idea is not the best idea. Probably you have better ideas in the market, or even people with better ideas than me. We are not there yet. We start to think about this because you have a good taste. So you know how the potential of your idea could have, and we start to get frustrated. So normally is where all people start to give up. So when you have a personal project, so let me taking back and looking, and I start to drawing, and I have this first frustration drawing with 8 years old, and I give up. I said, okay, this is not for me, but was my first try. So maybe it could be different if I try again, or I could invest more on this idea. Maybe happens. And we need to understand the frustration. It's part of our process to create ideas and to present ideas and to validate all of these ideas. We have this problem, and this is a social problem. It's because story love winners, and they love a story with great achievements and brilliant people. And this is our problem. We kind of relate ourselves with these people, and we start to think about our ideas is not enough to present, or it's not there yet. And here is there a documentary from Adam Westbrook called The Long Game, and I will show here. It's just 4 minutes, and I think it's very cool to show you guys and watch. He will tell a story of Da Vinci, but it's a different perspective. So take a look.
History loves winners. You know, stories of great achievements by brilliant people. But actually, almost all of these stories are missing their most important detail. To see what that is, we have to start by looking not at history's winners, but at its losers.
Yes, Lucas? Yes, that's better. I think it's better when you move to you.
All right, okay.
Yes.
If you know where to look. For example, we take something like The Last Supper and we say to ourselves, this is the work of a genius. But actually, the guy who painted it, Leonardo da Vinci, was kind of a loser. He was born in 1452, just outside of Florence, and it didn't take long for people to realise he could draw. At the age of 14, he gets an apprenticeship with one of the great painters of the time. So far, so good. But Leonardo has a problem. He's got these big ideas for these epic masterpieces he wants to create, but they're so ambitious, he can never get them finished. For example, in 1481, he gets a gig to paint a fresco called the Adoration of the Magi. this is a sketch he made for it, and you can count here 66 people. There's 11 animals, including some kind of horse battle going on over there, and then there's all those stairs. No surprise, he can't get the thing finished. Now, he's a freelancer at this point, and if you're freelance, you'll know that not delivering to a client is bad for business. Not only does he not get paid for his work, now no one will hire him. Which brings us to this unfortunate guy, another one of history's losers maybe. It was grim work, but if you could draw, you could make 40 florins or so painting dead criminals. And this is all the work that Leonardo da Vinci can get. And to rub it in, all the other big painters in Florence have been invited to the biggest gig of the time, to paint the Sistine Chapel. Leonardo's invite never came. Now here's what I think's really interesting about this. At this low ebb in his life, Leonardo had just turned 30. It's funny, isn't it, how when you're young, you look at 30 like it's some kind of terrible milestone, like if you're not on the right path by now, you're in trouble. And that's when we live twice as long. I mean, imagine how Leonardo felt. For him, 30 was pretty much middle age. Thing is, I could tell you loads of stories like this. At 30, this guy was sweeping the floor in a laboratory for another scientist who today hardly anyone's ever heard of. This guy was a mid-rank soldier with a drinking problem. At 30, he's living with his mum and dad, and this guy's bankrupt. And as for him, well, you know who he is, but did you know that at 30, he'd been trying to make it as an actor for 10 years, but could still only get bit parts on TV, and was working as a carpenter to pay the bills. But look, this isn't just about late starters. I think these stories are trying to tell us something about what it means to be creative and successful today. To see what that is, we need to go from one famous carpenter back to the other one. The Last Supper is a masterpiece, right? Leonardo solved a perspective problem that had confused artists for years just by the way he places Jesus' hands. We can tell who Judas is, not in some obvious way, but in the subtle way he's positioned in the painting. Now, it was also the work that made Leonardo da Vinci. It was his first timeless piece. But here's what's amazing about this. It was finished, wait for it, in 1498. Remember when we left Leonardo painting dead people when he was 30? That was in 1482, 16 years before The Last Supper was finished. In other words, Leonardo da Vinci got his big break when he was 46. That's just how long it takes to get this good at doing something. But it feels like we've forgotten this. You know, these days we're in such a hurry, and I worry we've created a dangerous blind spot in our approach to creativity. But how did that happen, and can we do anything about it? The answer lies with this American TV star and his talking skeleton. And that's where we're heading in part two.
So, yeah, this documentary is very interesting if you are, you know, like me in the 30 and you have some preconceptions about age, about your ideas, about your personal projects. And I really recommend it to watch. Call it Long Game. And yeah, so we don't have great ideas all the time, and we need some time to develop our ideas. And I have here a little game for you guys, and if you guys are on other tabs, click back here very quickly just to send in your chat. This back rub here, it's a huge company of technology, but this is the first name of this company. I want you guys to try to figure out what company is this one, back rub. Can you imagine? Go. This one is Google. So was the first idea and the first name from Google. So here, another one, Red String. Oh, this could be easy. Yeah, no, it's Pepsi. Another one here, Blue Ribbon Sports. Yeah, Nike. Be Adidas. Makes more sense for me, be Adidas, but was Nike. And this one, Oh my gosh. Ah, Bernardo, find out. Subway. So yeah, guys, so that's okay if your idea takes a while to be created, right? So this is kind of to understand, even the great minds we understand now, they have some time to create something. And this time, we call it a cave period. So this is the period when the person isolates himself, stay in the shadows, dedicating himself and preparing himself. And when you see someone with an incredible idea for business, for marketing or personal life, or something we called out of the box, certainly this person had a cave period to prepare, study, and dedicate. And what happens is sometimes they are not so popular people, because cave periods don't sell books, right? So they don't mention if Mark Zuckerberg was a student who created Facebook, awesome, but don't mention he was studying in Harvard, for example. So in Harvard, we have a lot of other students, rich people who have a lot of money to invest in any kind of idea. So it was a really different context from ours, and probably from you. If you study in Harvard, sorry, but yeah, for most of us here, I believe it's not a reality. And the first thing we need to start right now, in the moment you have in your career, and if you're looking for some step in your career or looking for something different for your product or something different for your client or for your area at all, it's understand if you are passing for a cave moment or not. So if you have, don't ignore your cave, easier to study, to improve, and get better. Other thing, don't see the other stage and compare with your backstage. Everyone is different from the other, and we have to avoid any comparison because we have different backgrounds, different history, and if you want to be like someone and you don't really know this person and you try just to be like them, it'd be really frustrating. So understand what is the other stage, like Instagram or something like that, and you compare your personal life and with your backstage. Could be a huge frustration to make you don't move forward with your life and your ideas and your projects. And remember, life is a marathon, and sometimes we think it is a sprint, right? But understand your time. Everyone has your time, different times to get ideas, get different products, so solve different problems. So make this in your head pop up. And of course, all of these I say here before is not a rule, but could increase your chance of success. So I talk a lot with my students on the college, and I try to understand why they get stuck at sometimes, and most of them are stuck because of comparison. It's because they are studying but are looking for the other professional who are doing something amazing, but we don't know the story of this professional, we don't know the background. So let's avoid of this comparison. And when we have these ideas, go back in the theory, take it, validate your idea with the context, technology, with your eyes, identify patterns. And here it's a kind of framework for, we are designers, we love framework, right? So I have to create one here just to illustrate a little bit how we can work for new ideas. So normally, this is the pattern from all ideas we have. So the first thing we need to prepare, so we need to absolving and research. This absolving could be a cave period or not, depends. But we use this first time to absolve different ideas, go watch different movies, go use different products. And if you're creating a new product, go for another one really different you're used to use. And after that, go to do your research, understand what makes sense for your context or not. And we have the incubation, and this is not a time defined for this. So we have all these are ideas, and you have to generate something new from them, convert all of these things in a solution. When you use your research and your solving time appropriately, would be more easy to go to the next step in incubation and find solutions and related the problems. And after this, probably you have the aha moment, right? When you say, aha, I know this. Oh, I discovered. So it's the eureka, the insight moment. And we are really happy with this, but we need to evaluate and validate our resources, understand how we can implement this. And after we understand the resources, we start to figure out how we can implement this. So it's a moment to you present your idea for your stakeholders, for your partner on your business, or for your colleagues, or something like that. And as I mentioned before, I'm a huge fan of movies, screenplay, cinema. I have here also a screenplay structure. And for this screenplay, it's very funny I bring here because this is a way for us to present our ideas also. Because 90% of the ideas in my source here is a article from Adobe is rejected by the presentations. People don't know how to present their ideas. So here I bring a screenplay for all the cities I like it. And the first thing, we have a lot of structures and frameworks to present, but I like to present this one here because was the same I bring in the beginning of my presentation. So I use the same structure to talk about Luquinhas in the beginning and my struggle. So this is the structure I use. So the first thing we need to set up our hero. What is your hero of your story or for your idea? Who is this person? And after this, we go to set up the background, the life of this person, the context, the culture of this person. And after, normally, we face a problem. Something happened. So when something happened, this is create a goal for our hero. So our hero now has a goal. It's something to solve. And after this, we have a series of attempts and fails. So we are not success in the first idea, and we are not success in the first attempt, of course. So we try again, we try. And when we watch any series, animation or live action, these attempts and fails start to rise in our emotional state. So a lot of things start to get more anxious and anxious. And we have a success moment for our hero. Yeah, things going great. But it's a temporary, momentarily success. So things now get lost again. Now is worse. So in the movies and animes, it's kind of when you're playing some game, it's kind of when the villain, the bad guy, have a second transformation, and you find, oh, I finished this boss, but the boss has another transformation. And the movies is like when they think they win, but the villain come back worse. Only the romantic movies, they have a situation and they figure out, okay, we solved this, but everything starts to get lost and the real truth pop up. And for the final, we have this something happen. We call it second wind. It's when the hero in the beginning noticed something they didn't notice before. So this is the story of the most stories we have on our Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus. And the difference here is how we tell this story, because we don't necessarily need to start for the hero. You can start for the something happen. We can start from the success moment. We can start for the get lost. So identify what scenario here for start point for your story makes more sense for your idea and for what you are telling. Because let's put this on the work, for example. If you have a presentation for someone who know the hero, know your persona, know your user, you don't need to start from there. You can start from setup. You can start for something happen. So identify the strategy, the context, and who will watch your presentation, and adapt your idea for different people. Don't use the same way to present for different people, because people are different. They want to see different point of views. So if you have a presentation for different stakeholders, adapt and create a different presentation for stakeholders, users, directors. Don't use the same. So this is something I would like to share with you guys. And yeah, so I also like to kind of end my presentation with this word, potential. So potential in your dictionary, it's something which is not yet fully developed. So it's very common. Our ideas, an idea can have potential. We just need to develop, refine, and work into this diamond. And it's very common. So I will share this presentation you guys could access. And when you try to validate something new or something you are trying to, could be a mess for your area, for your client, or something is more creative, then it's you don't know how to sell your idea. We can go back here, use data, use research, use culture, behavior. You can apply all these studies from a country, for a small city, a big city, a neighborhood, different areas. You can adapt all of this for your own context. Uh, and yeah, this is my material, the reference for this presentation. So we have The Art of Innovation from Tom Kelly. You have a documentary, a design documentary, Abstract on Netflix. We have a lot of ones there. So try to watch some documentaries, some different you are not used to watch. I know it's hard, but maybe when you are trying on Netflix, find something for 30 minutes, you already watch an episode. So you can try to do this. And yeah, I think we need to experiment and try different things and use this framework as a support. But yeah, and this is all I want to share with you guys. And the most important, I like to end this presentation saying it's the most important thing we have is the empathy. And that's a quote from a musician called Calle 13. I don't know if you guys know it. But he says something like, when we are born and the doctors are in the hospital with the babies, the first movement the babies do is try to hug someone. And the same doctors who was in the different room with terminal patients, they saw the same thing. They saw these terminal patients in the final moments trying to hug someone. So we are human beings, after all, and we need to have empathy to create our ideas, because everyone is creative, right? Everyone has ideas. And we need to find a way to make this empathy reach in the others, engage the others all the time. And yeah, and I'm here to talk about this. So reach me on the chat. I really like to talk about empathy, about projects, ideas, present something different for the others, and how we can work on this. So thank you so much for your time. I know I talked a lot for an hour, but yeah, I know if you guys have something to share, some idea or something you guys have struggled, let's use this 10 minutes to asking questions or sharing some experience.
Great. What a presentation, right, folks? It's perfect, amazing content. Thank you, Lucas. Questions, everyone? We have 10 minutes.
I have a question, Polly.
Go ahead.
I think something you were talking about there, Lucas, about the cave period to incubate and study. This is so true, and yes, also so often overlooked. But I have seen sometimes that people sort of get stuck in the cave period. Like there's these cycles of grounding, which I call the cave period grounding, and then growing, which is like the expression of that, what you've learned becoming ideas and slowly working toward fruition. But there also have been times in my life where those cycles have slowed almost standstill, and I find myself in a cave period that doesn't lead somewhere. It doesn't seem to like shape itself into a thought or an idea. It just sort of becomes stagnation. So what advice would you have, or what maybe have you observed about getting stuck in one stage of the cycle?
Yeah. So yeah, I think the first thing I notice when I get stuck, it's sometimes we have a cave inside a cave. So maybe we are on the cave right now and we are not 100% sure or not feel confident to go out there and present our ideas and show ourselves. So sometimes it's really related with confidence, and try to miss fast to find a way to get out. But yes, I always get stuck in sometimes, and we don't have this confidence to move on or present this idea or even take this different challenge in our lives. But I think it's really related with the confidence. And if we have opportunity to share these ideas with someone close of us, we don't need to do all of this alone, for example. You don't need to pass for this cave alone. Maybe you can find some support with the others and support each other. So when I get stuck with these things, I try to share with someone close to me. Could be a professional, or I don't know. I have my wife, Jessica. She's listening a lot, so I try to find other person to talk. So I try to find someone in my work, or some friends to share my thoughts, if it makes sense or not, and ask for opinion. What do you think? I can move on with this, and I can try this. And also, I think it's important in the cave period we have planning and strategy. So it's kind of common when we work in the business. We sometimes we misunderstand these two words, planning, and we use planning as a strategy, but they are kind of different. So planning is when you know what you have to do, when you have this due dates, right, to accomplish. But strategy is kind of which results you expect from this planning, for example. So it's kind of two different things. And I think in the KP period, when you get stuck, we can go back and understand our priorities, understand what we can do in your planning, the due dates, and challenge ourselves to go out there and experiment, understand, go back to KV period if it's necessary. If not, you can continue, move on. But yeah, I think it's more important to go back, validate your planning strategy. It makes sense you get stuck and talk with someone, and maybe this person can help you to find another solution to another path to get out of this. I don't know I answer your question. But
Yeah, you did. And I think like that's a great, I don't know, I'm a gardener, so I always think about the like the plant world, but it's like when you share with another person, you invite someone else into the cave period, it's almost like you add some fertilizer
yes,
and something new can come and grow and develop. Thank you.
awesome.